Welcome to my allotment, and I thought I'd start with that wonderful skyline in the background, and I just wanted to make an observation. So far, this would be my 10th video posted on YouTube, and I'm starting quickly to realise that you have to watch your attention to detail. I had a day with my family yesterday. Our eldest son is over with his partner Nikki and their our new granddaughter Lexi, which is an absolute thrill for all the family. But they all commented on the same thing, that they're spotting things in the video that I'm not paying attention to. First thing my mum said was, never thought I'd see you, Martin, with Dove soap. When I first started up here, I brought a bar of Dove soap up here thinking I'd wash my hands at the end of each spot on the allotment. Well, that hasn't happened. I don't think that's happened once, but the bar is still up here, and my mum spotted it in some of the videos, so I've got to remove that, obviously. And the second thing that she noticed, being my mother, is how dirty my tea mug is. So I've just cleaned it out with the first kettle of the day, and I apologise to all those who have been offended by my quality or standards of hygiene or lack of them in my tea mug. Personally, I quite enjoy that. I think it just adds flavour and allows my body to become accustomed to bad bacteria. It's part of my health programme rather than my laziness at hygiene standards, and that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So yes, I need to pay more attention to the detail, more attention to what is in the background of my shots, and try and discourage my mother from watching. So I've got a day ahead of me, looking forward to it. And how many YouTube allotment videos do you see with that in the background? Fantastic. I did it just for you viewers. I'll be early to bed tonight, I can tell you that for nothing. Right, I've got a cup of tea sat over there. It needs drinking in a nice clean mug. Right, so what have I got to do today? I'd like to make a start on that new plot of ground I've got. I'm just a little concerned that because we haven't had rain for about 2 to 3 weeks, and the ground is very hard on the outside, that maybe as I dig in it might be a little bit hard and not suitable to dig. So I'll have a start with that and I'll see how I go. But that's one job I've got today, and that's going to take me more than one day, but I need to make a start on that. I also want to move the compost, the working compost, into a different bay, add in some of the well-rotted manure that we've got here, and just work that bay, keep it moving and decomposing. So that's quite a big job because I've got to wheelbarrow all the manure in. I'd like to do that today. This cabbage or brassica bed behind me is now finished. The cabbages are no good and they've got to come out, and the bed's got to be weeded, ready for whatever's going in next time round. I still haven't looked what that is. The raspberry bed, the raspberries aren't coming up in the rows quite as I like. Some of them, as you know, they move along and come up in different spots. That's how they spread, and I need to dig those, spade through the roots, dig them out and replant them in the rows so I can move between them and pick them. Again, that might be a low priority job because it's so dry that whilst I can water them in, maybe it'll be better to wait for some of the rain we've got forecast later in the week and do that then. I'll see how my day goes. I've got some beetroot here that I can plant. I've got a row of gutted garden peas that can go in today. That's an exciting new development, so I want to do that. I've got some leeks. I may, if I get time, puddle those in, start putting some of those in. We'll see how it goes. I'm not in any great rush to do any of it. I'm just going to work through the day and see what happens. But that's some of the jobs I want to get on with, so we better make a start. I wonder if frogs eat tadpoles. Major construction underway. A greenhouse to rival anything at Kew. We'll come back when it's finished. With a cup of tea in hand, and before I start work, I just wanted to give an update on the seeds that were sent to me by Kitchen Garden magazine from King's Seeds. So thank you to both of those. You can see that, you know, this is only a selection. I've got several trays of each, so I've just put a few here so you can see. And in no particular order, just to say how, you know, how they're coming on. I've got kohlrabi purple delicacy here, and never grown kohlrabi before. Still not quite sure what you do with it, which I shall have to investigate. But I've had very good germination. The seedlings are all very healthy, and I'm very pleased with it. They were potted on in the greenhouse, they've been brought up here, and so far so good. And I've got some EnviroMesh on order, and when that arrives, they will be going out with the brassicas under the EnviroMesh netting to keep the white fly, the butterflies, and anything else that fancies them off. Spinach Matador. I've never had a lot of success with spinach, probably because we've had some hot summers recently and it's always bolted, but that spinach here, Spinach Matador, I've got several trays on the go. That's the most advanced. A little way off yet going in, I think, simply because, you know, the slugs will take them when they're that small. But so far so good. I've got snap pea, purple magnolia snap. They're in a very long gutter at home. They are just out, very good germination. They're just peeking out of the soil, so I haven't brought those up, but so far so good. I've got dwarf French bean mystic, and that's a good example. I've had, there's a small weed there. Yeah. I've had very good germination. I've got several of these trays of pots. Very pleased. I've had almost 100% germination with those, and I'm very pleased, and I'm looking forward to getting those in the ground. The winter squash Waltham butternut, again another good example. These ones I've had good germination and they look okay, but some of them look a little bit pale and a little bit yellow. I don't know quite what's causing that, whether it's the cold nights or whether it's just they've used up the nutrients, or perhaps it's watering, I'm not sure. But otherwise, generally healthy plants, and they're coming on a tree and they're good germination. Courgette zucchini. I don't know quite what I'm going to do with all these courgettes. I usually only grow 4, and almost 3/4 of the courgettes that I get go to the farm shop, because the farm shop takes our excess produce, which is a wonderful arrangement. But anyway, I'm growing them. I'll probably give them to other people on the plots that haven't got any, and I'll find other spots to grow them. But very pleased with this. I've had a couple of little slugs and I've lifted out the pots and discovered them, and they don't exist anymore. So the courgettes are coming on a tree. Courgette zucchini. Sweet corn, golden bantham, they're in the greenhouse at home. And I've had nothing's come out of the ground yet, so I've got nothing to report on those. Early days, but nothing so far. Radish Cherry Bell is in the front of that raised bed there. I've got a row of them along with some French breakfast radishes, and they're all growing really nicely. In fact, I might have a couple out of there today with my lunch. They're only small, but it will, because they're multi-sown, they're in little groups of 4 or 5, so I might have a couple of those with my lunch. And then the last one is tomato honeymoon. Now, tomato honeymoon, one I hadn't heard of previously. There were 6 seeds in the packet. Only 4 germinated, and bearing in mind they all went in at the same time, of the 4 I've got that have come up, these seeds went in the ground at exactly the same minute on the same day. Strange how one could not look healthier. It's a wonderful looking tomato plant. No smell on it yet. And yet this one really doesn't look too healthy. I'm going to continue to grow it and we'll see what happens. but it's not looking good. But you know, 4 out of the 6 have come up, 3 out of the 4 look healthy, so you know, you could call that a 50% success rate. And we'll see what happens. Of course, the real test is in the eating of the tomato, which is some way off yet, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm very pleased, you know, to be taking part in this trial. There's several of us all over the country doing the same thing, and we're all sending photos into the magazine periodically, and they'll publish them, I expect, in the magazine. But I just thought I'd do it here, because a picture paints 1,000 words, doesn't it? I've been so focused on making sure this mug is clean for the next video, I've only half filled it with tea. That's your fault, Mum. It's wonderful. Got the place to myself. I'm watching the sunrise behind you. Hot cup of tea. Wonderful seedlings. What more could an allotmenteer want? Well, as the sun really starts to lift in the sky and it's rather blinding me, that's a very quick clear. I'll do a little bit more in a minute, but that's generally it ready. I can't really do much with the surface until we have some rain and I can get the rake into it decently. I'll use my bent fork rake for that, I think. A bit more powerful and brutal. But a little bit of good news I'd like to report is, of all those cabbages that I just pulled out, which had all bolted, as I've said to you before, I've got club root on this plot, and I was half suspecting that, you know, when I took these out, that's what I'd find. Actually, of all those cabbages, and there's about a dozen that I pulled out, they were quite hard to get out, and they had really quite a good root system. When I discovered club root last year in the autumn, I put these in and I grew them at home as large as I could in sterile compost, and then I limed the planting holes and put them into that sort of lime bowl, and actually I think it's worked. That was a really decent, it's not the biggest root system, but it was very firm in the ground, and I had to really pull that to get it out. One of them has come away, and I've just dug out the piece of club root infested root, and I'll get rid of that off site. So that's one that has had club root. But other than that, they were all okay. So that bodes rather well for that method of... So this year, all the brassicas I'm growing are allegedly club root resistant. And then if I do that as well with the lime and letting them get as large as I can out of this ground, I think I should be okay. So I'm rather pleased about that. Bodes well for this summer. Right, let's chop them up and get them in the compost. I've got some more bad news for my mum. Not only have I got a bar of Dove soap up here, but I've got nail varnish remover. But fear not, Mum, I'm not wearing nail varnish. It's fantastic, as everyone knows I'm sure, for cleaning off permanent marker on these white signs. Everything today in the press is about renewing and reusing plastic, so that's what I'm doing. These are really well made signs, so I don't want to throw them away. That would be silly. So bit of nail varnish remover, and they come up as good as the day they were bought, ready to go again. So all real men have nail varnish remover on their allotment plots, says I. But for goodness sake, don't get caught wearing nail varnish up here. Job done. Okay, this is the first lot of peas I'm putting in. They were sown in this gutter on the 17th of March, and it's pea early onward. So 17th of March they were sown. It's the 21st of April today, World Earth Day I believe. So I'm going to celebrate that by putting something in the earth. What better way to celebrate? I hope this goes according to plan. If it doesn't, I shall have to grow some more, delete this and try again and make it look as if I know what I'm doing. So the theory is that they should yeah. Oh, don't you love it when it all goes according to plan on the first take? I know they haven't made it the full length of the frame, but I've got some other smaller guttering pieces that I can fill in at each end. They're not quite at the same stage as these, so I'll let them grow on for a week or two and then they'll fill in the ends. And then on each one of these, you know, this guttering will get re-sown tonight. There's another 3 in the greenhouse that are coming on. So slowly I'll get a successional plot or harvest of peas as they move on. The theory is that these will then be all harvested, taken out, and more will go in, because I've got some later ones. I think they're called Eddie, which are ideal for later sowings. So we'll hope to get a crop of peas right the way through the summer and maybe into autumn, who knows. But I'm just going to backfill these a little, and then I'm going to give them a drink. And once they've had a drink, I think it's time for a cup of tea. More good news on the plot. For those that are following my channel and have watched the previous videos, you will know that just over 2 weeks ago I put some carrot seeds in these tubs. I covered them with plastic and wood to exclude the light, and then I took that off after a week, or John, a friend of mine on the plots, did, because I wasn't here. So they had a week in darkness, and now they've had a week with the covers off. I've given them a little bit of light watering, but not a lot, and I hope that in fact I can see that the video is picking up some tiny little seedlings, many of them bursting through. So there's going to be a bit of thinning needed here, but I'm really pleased. So it works. That works for carrot germination. Put the seedlings into damp compost, cover them very lightly with dry compost so that the seedlings have a chance, tiny little seedlings, to break through because there's no crust. Cover them for a week to exclude the light and to stop rain compacting the soil over the top of them, and then take the cover off, and approximately a week later, it's actually 8 days since I did that, and I've spotted this morning that these seedlings are up. So lots of carrots coming through, and it's the same with the other tub. Thrilled to bits. Better give them a drink. Kettle's boiled. This is my second cup of tea up here, and it is 7:30. Is that too many cups of tea at that time of the morning? No. Best drink of the day. Well, there's no getting away from it. I've taken this bit of ground on, and whilst it's pretty weed free, it's not in a good state. I can't plant straight into this. It's too bumpy and rough. I like things a lot neater. So I know there's a lot to be said for no dig, and maybe in the future that's what this will be. But right now it needs digging over, weeding and levelling prior to it being filled with potatoes. So it's no good looking at it, it's no good talking about it, I've got to do it. So let's do just that. Not sure which one I'll be using. Let's see how we get on, and I'll report back when I'm a few litres of sweat lighter. Okay, well that's a start. That's taken me about 3 hours, but that's all been dug over. I've got rid of that mound and I'm trying to create a path at the back, and I've put a path in here that extends my path down the middle of the two plots. Not only have I dug it over, now I've got in 3 rows of main crop potatoes which are Kerr's pink. If you remember from a previous video, I didn't know what they were called, so I had to go back to the garden centre. And this time I got some more and wrote it on the bag. Lesson learned. What's next? Ah, yeah, cup of tea. Okay, I'm just going to put in a few leeks, and the term tends to be puddling in. So using a dibber, I've created some holes between 6 and 8 inches deep. I've taken out some of the leeks. They're a little bit small at the moment, but we'll give it a chance. And then just drop them in. And the deeper you drop them, the more blanching or whitening you get of the shaft of the leek when it's mature. And then the puddling bit is to pour water in the hole. Don't backfill the hole with the soil, just let the water do it for you. Okay, so that's 8 rows of 7 leeks in each row, so 56 leeks in, and I've barely touched my supply of leeks, so I'm going to need more ground. But I've done enough for today. I've had enough. In this heat I'm worn out, so I'll make that do, and I'll finish off the leeks to the end of this bed, maybe tomorrow, but certainly another day. Well, that's it for Easter Bank Holiday Monday. I'm off home for a tea, so thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. Please hit the like button if you feel you can, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.